In a 6-3 decision along ideological lines, the High Court has just ruled that Louisiana's 2024 map, which created the state's second majority black congressional district, is unconstitutional. The court writing that, quote, the Constitution almost never permits a state to discriminate on the basis of race, with Justice Alito delivering the opinion for the court. The decision marks a major win for Republicans, as Louisiana will now have to redraw its districting map and could have major implications for upcoming elections. For that, I want to bring in senior justice reporter Ryan Reilly, who has been following this for us. Ryan, talk about those implications, right, of this decision out of Louisiana. We have a huge election now, just 7 months away come November.
Yeah, it's going to be a real scramble. And remember, Yasmin, before all of this, they originally drew this map that despite Louisiana's population being a third black, that only one of the 6 districts that they drew originally was majority black. And so when they came back in order to sort of comply with the Voting Rights Act, they had drawn maps that created 2 majority black districts. But overall, if you look at the course of the Supreme Court's jurisprudence on the Voting Rights Act over the course of the last decade plus, I mean, they've been chipping away at the Voting Rights Act ever so slowly. And I think this is another big chunk that essentially they're taking out of the Voting Rights Act, which was sort of meant to originally, make voting more equal, give individuals who had been suppressed for generations and for years more power in their own government. And so this is, from a purely political standpoint, you should benefit Republicans, as you sort of mentioned. And I think that, voting rights advocates see this as another sort of clip out of being taken out of the Voting Rights Act, which has already been severely weakened by the Supreme Court since 2013, really.
We're hearing from the Attorney General to Louisiana, Ryan, in which the Attorney General says the Supreme Court has ended Louisiana's long-running nightmare of federal courts coercing the state to draw a racially discriminatory map that was always unconstitutional, and this is a seismic decision reaffirming equal protection under our nation's laws. One of the reasons why I'm looking down right now is because I'm reading this right off my phone as this statement is now just coming in. Talk us through how this could also have further implications on states throughout the country. We've talked about a lot about redistricting in California and Texas as well.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what the majority here is saying that these things have to be race blind, right? So factoring in who might have been overlooked in the past is not sort of something that they say, that you basically have to pretend that race doesn't exist. That's not a factor that you can be built in. In fact, the suggestion here is that it's sort of reverse racism to consider those factors. And so I think you're going to continue to see this pushback from voting rights organizations. And it comes at a time when the Trump administration is doing a lot to try to clamp down on voting across the states by requesting all of this documentation from states, having them send these voter rolls. Some states have proactively cooperated with that. Other states have resisted, and those states have been backed up by courts because courts have found that the Justice Department was going beyond what it had the right to do and didn't have a justification. There wasn't actual allegations of voter fraud. And obviously, if you step back even further, Donald Trump has for over a decade had these concerns that he proclaims about voter fraud, and that's not something that's ever been disproven, because every expert you'll talk to will tell you that voter fraud is not a widespread issue.
Ryan Reilly, stand by for me. Want to bring back in Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Tsirkin. Julie, I lied. I thanked you, and now I'm bringing you back because that's what happens on Capitol Hill. You, it seems, are the center of the universe right now with all that's happening right now. I know you heard from House Speaker Mike Johnson about this decision out of Louisiana and redistricting. What did he tell you?
Yeah, we did. My colleague Brennan Leach was in that big scrum as they move behind me. You'll see them to the House chamber. Let's take a listen to what he said. And it's important not only because he's the Speaker of the House, he's interested to protect his majority come midterms, but also because this district actually borders his in Shreveport, Louisiana. So let's take a listen to what he said, and we'll talk about it later.
The Supreme Court opinion came out. I've obviously not had time to read through that. I used to litigate these kinds of cases, so I'm looking forward to it. But I just talked to some folks who have gone through it, and they said that this is obviously the right result. They determined that the last map that was drawn for Louisiana was done unconstitutionally, and we've been saying that consistently from the beginning. That was the obvious result. So we'll see what effect it has. We have, as you know, a primary coming up in about 2 weeks. So we'll see if the state legislature deems it appropriate to go in and draw new maps.
Now, Democratic Cleo Fields currently holds that seat. He was reelected in 2024, but as Ryan pointed out, this certainly gives Republicans the edge at a moment where they need one. We've been talking about their narrow majority. It's part of the reason why House Speaker Mike Johnson has such a headache on the floor right now when it comes to separate matters involving DHS funding and FISA reauthorization, that spy surveillance provision. But certainly when it comes to this tit for tat that we're seeing across the country, something that began in Texas at the president's direction. I know there's an additional voting rights component to this specific map and this specific decision from the Supreme Court. But just in the last couple of minutes, we also got news that in the Florida House of Representatives, in that state, they actually just passed a new congressional district map that was proposed by Ron DeSantis, the governor there, just this week. And that would give Republicans potentially another edge, potentially 4 additional seats to the House of Representatives. That still needs to go through the Senate, is expected to be tied up in courts, just as we've seen Louisiana and these other states be so far, but certainly a major development. And one that Republicans and Democrats are both paying attention to. The chairwoman of the DSCC, this is the committee tasked with reelecting Democrats in November. She put out a statement already, Susan DelBene, saying that this case may have been brought on by those who seek to suppress the votes of millions of Americans, but she says these schemes will backfire. She talks about how corrupt it is, a targeted assault of voting rights of Black and brown Americans, but she did say that Democrats remain poised to retake the House majority in November. So extremely interesting dynamic happening here as these competing maps move through the courts.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.